good versus evil back here at home as well. Mr. Biden in the White House against the faith he professes to have, and slimy Sheldon Whitehouse. Ugh, it just... After you watched him, don't you have to go take a shower? That's our top story tonight. As we laid out in the preamble, Rhode Island Senator Sheldon Whitehouse is allowed by leftists and their exclusive focus on race to belong to an all-white club. Imagine the backlash if a Republican senator were doing this. Joining me now to weigh in, Kentucky Congressman James Comer. Congressman, great to see you. In an era where the press, socialists, and gov education and their administrators are focused on nothing but skin color, how is it that a socialist Democrat senator gets to belong to a rich, all-white club and none of these so-called race warriors bat an eyelash?
It's another example of the media's hypocrisy. I appreciate the fact that you're covering this, and we all know if he were a Republican, then it would be the top story, and there would be every liberal group in America calling for his resignation. So I'm glad you're highlighting the hypocrisy. I don't think it's going to be any surprise to most conservatives who have had to hold their nose and listen and read what the media prints about Republicans. But it's just another example of hypocrisy and the double standard that the Democrats have.
You know, my hope is, and maybe I'm not sure how many conversations you have with your Republican colleagues about this, but wouldn't it be nice if Republicans got together and they said, oh, look, there's Sheldon Whitehouse. He belongs to an exclusive all-white club, something that you folks at CNN, you folks at MSNBS, you all claim is terrible and evidence of racism. And then you start lumping in all of these so-called news organizations with the very racists they're covering for. Have you Republicans given any thought to actually, you know, because I know the Republican Party isn't very good at messaging, but I mean, have you thought about stepping up the game on messaging on this?
We've had a lot of internal talks about combating the racism accusations coming from the left and from the Democrats. I mean, they play the race card on every issue. You know this. I think that your advice is very well taken by me and a lot of Republicans. We're going to have to step up the messaging game because the Democrats are clearly trying to pander to their base and trying to fire their base up when they themselves don't abide by the same political correctness rules that they expect Republicans to abide by.
Take this back to the next meeting, to Kevin McCarthy, maybe to Mitt Romney. Take this back to them. You know, and just take it verbatim. Democrats claim that America is systemically racist, but it seems to me the home of systemic racism is the Democrat Socialist Party. I mean, just look at Mr. Whitehouse. Am I wrong?
No, you're exactly right. There are plenty of examples of Democrats in the Senate and in the House that have said racist things, that belong to exclusive clubs, that call on Republicans to resign when they are members of the same types of clubs or say the same types of politically incorrect or even racist comments. So I don't dispute that at all. I think that's one reason in Kentucky Donald Trump's so popular. I think that there is, you know, virtually no racism among the majority of people that are working, tax-paying Kentuckians. They respect the fact that Donald Trump took up for them and stated the facts that, you know, we're not racist. If anybody's racist, it's the Democrats. It's people like Tlaib and Omar who say racist comments all the time, anti-Semitic comments all the time. And I think that Donald Trump's the one Republican that's gotten it right on combating the racist message in the Republican Party.
Yeah, just go crack open a history book. You'll see the party of racism is the Democrat Party. Let's go on to something else here. According to an Axios report, up to $400 billion in pandemic unemployment money may have gone to fraudsters. Then there's desperate Governor Gavin Newsom promising to pay off Californians' rent. I guess we taxpayers in Texas, Florida, South Dakota, elsewhere, we know where all that money in that liberal state bailout boondoggle, where all of our money went. It's going out to California to prevent Gavin Newsom from losing a recall, so all of our tax money now can go to bail him out in his recall effort. What do you think, Congressman?
This should be the biggest story in America right now. How many hundreds of billions of dollars were wasted and fraudulently wasted in the unemployment scams in these blue states. And Kentucky is another example, but specifically California, because of its sheer size, we don't know how many billions of dollars went to foreign nationals, went to prisoners, went to people who certainly were not working. The Republicans on the House Oversight Committee, along with Darrell Issa, we called on the Democrats to investigate this early on in February. When we started hearing reports of this, we started getting tips that this was going on. Now we've learned through many private cybersecurity firms and through audits that hundreds of billions of dollars were paid fraudulently to people who were not even entitled to unemployment, many of whom weren't even from the United States. It's estimated that maybe 70% were from countries like China and Russia. But the Democrats don't want to talk about this, and the liberal mainstream media don't want to report this.
Yeah, that's true. Look, I've got only about 60 seconds to get this last question in, Congressman. There's a guy by the name of Peter Dasic. He runs Eco Health Systems. He's been taken off of this this board, this China virus board, this commission, because, well, he lobbied scientists to dismiss the lab leak theory for an offering to the Lancet Medical Journal. Now, Mr. Dasic is the same man who Dr. Fauci made a lot of money, $3.7 million to Dasic's firm, and then Dasic took the money, put $600,000 into the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Question: how much longer can socialist Democrats protect Fauci and his culpability, given what we're learning day after day after day as this house of cards comes tumbling down?
I don't know how much longer they can do it, but I can tell you this: the American people want to know the origination of COVID. They want to know about that $600,000 of U.S. Taxpayer dollars that went to Eco Health Alliance that they sent to the Wuhan lab. And I think that he should be subpoenaed. I think anyone affiliated with Eco Health Alliance should be subpoenaed. And I think it's a shame that Dr. Fauci hasn't voluntarily come to Congress to tell us what he knew. I know we're having a select subcommittee hearing next week. We've invited Dr. Fauci to attend, and we'll see if he attends. I'm going to say he probably won't, but I know that the American people are wanting answers, and the Democrats continue to hope that this issue is going to go away, and I don't think it will.
Well, he won't talk to us here at Newsmax either, so I join the club, Congressman. Congressman James Comer, appreciate the time.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.